What's going on YouTube? It's Chris here again for Friendly Frenzy Games. Now today we have put together this short guide to smuggling contraband in Starfield because it really can be a great way to earn credits while selling to merchants, and the game really doesn't give you much information up front about how it works or how to decrease your chances of being detected by the faction scans. Not only that, but there is a cool little Steam achievement called I Use Them for Smuggling that's gonna pop after you successfully evade your first scan while having some contraband aboard your ship for the very first time. So make sure you stick around until the end of this video so that you are able to choose the option that's best suited for your playstyle. Now, let's get into it. Now, what is contraband in Starfield? Well, contraband are restricted items like harvested organs and sentient AI adapters that factions and vendors, really aside from the trade authority, choose not to deal with. Now, these are items that are much more commonly found as you start to increase in your level. They're typically discovered when you're boarding enemy ships, and they can be found either loosely on board or even in the ship's cargo holds. Contraband crates also exist and can be found while exploring different planets and structures, or even while you're questing. These items are going to be marked with a yellow icon in your miscellaneous inventory tab, and they are amongst the most expensive items to sell. But of course, with that, there is a trade-off. There are a very limited number of vendors that are willing to deal in these items, and you're going to need to also avoid the contraband scans when you're entering faction-patrolled airspace. With that said, there are a lot of credits to be made without needing to spend any skill points to successfully smuggle this contraband. However, it should be noted that these methods really only increase your chances of success and do not make you completely invulnerable to these scans. Unless, of course, you travel to the Den. So the Den is a floating trade post in the Wolf system just to the west of Alpha Centauri. The biggest benefits of this location is really that you aren't scanned at all when you enter the Wolf's orbit, and you aren't scanned when you board the Den. Also, there is a trade authority vendor which makes it super easy for offloading any of your restricted items for credits. The Den is honestly a pretty great option as you don't need to worry about scans, and the dollar value that you get from the trade authority vendor here is really the same as anywhere else, provided that they have the credits to afford your items. It does, though, become rather tedious having to always come back to this location when all you're really wanting to do is move forward in the game. To add more options and convenience to your smuggling runs, the easiest way to increase your evasion chance is to put some skill points into the deception skill in the social skill tree. Now, the biggest benefits of doing this is that you're going to get an additional 10% evasion chance with each rank, except for rank 4 where you're going to get an additional 20%. You're going to cap out here for a maximum of 50% chance to evade these scans. If you like pirating other ships as opposed to just destroying them, you're also going to receive the added benefit of stronger ships automatically surrendering to your demands. However, if you're like us and you're not about that pirate life, there are probably so many other things that you would rather do with those skills. Especially since deception is a tier 2 skill, you're essentially going to need to put at least 5 skill points into the social skill tree to unlock deception's very first rank, and upwards of 8 points to get the full 50% evasion chance, which, if you ask us, it's a very high price to pay. For that reason, we've got another 2 relatively inexpensive options for you to make credits while smuggling contraband that don't require a single skill point into the social tree. For starters, let's talk about shielded cargo. Specific vendors across the systems will sell ships with shielded cargo, however, these can be quite expensive. To get the same results but even more cheaply, you'll want to add shielded cargo holds to your ship. Now, shielded cargo holds are accessed in the same location as your regular cargo hold, just by using your cargo screen near your ship's cockpit. You don't need to designate specific items between shielded and unshielded cargo. Instead, the shielded mechanic will automatically apply to all of your ship's cargo up to a specified limit. Now, keeping your ship under the specified shielded limit will grant you the largest possible evasion bonus. For example, we had a mass of 120 and a shielded cargo capacity of 320, which gave us an evasion chance of 59%. So you can purchase shielded cargo holds rather cheaply, however these are only available at specific ship vendors. We've noticed that Jazz at Crimson Fleet's headquarters, the Key in the Crick system, but also Lon Anderson at the Red Mile in Parima 3 or the Parima system, sell these items in their shipbuilder menus. Both of the vendors that sell shielded cargo holds also sell another great and relatively inexpensive option for increasing your scanner evasion rating called the Scan Jammer. Now, a huge benefit here is that you can use both of these items together to stack your evasion bonus, which is obviously quite lucrative. You can purchase a basic Scan Jammer for 3,000 credits, and this is going to increase your evasion by an additional 10%. However, there are another 2 scanners that will increase your evasion even more. The only downside here is that you're going to need some skill points into Starship Design to be able to purchase and place them. Scan jammers can be placed on your ship at any available empty node along your ship. For example, we were able to place ours under our weapons. However, you can also purchase equipment plates from ship services vendors, and after placing the plates on your ship, you're going to be able to mount your equipment to these fixtures as well. At the end of the day, smuggling contraband can be a really great way to earn some quick credits, but it does require a little bit of thought, effort, and even a little bit of planning to avoid paid fees and jail time. Increasing your evasion chance really is all that you can do, and even still, it's definitely not a sure thing to completely avoid detection. However, one thing that we did notice though is that more often than not, if you do fail a scan, you're able to load your most recent autosave, and this is just going to give you a chance to run the scan again. In theory, you could just keep running it until you pass, and although it does take a little bit more time this way, it will save you some credits. So really, it's up to you to decide what's more valuable to you. So at this point, if you've been following along and you've used any of the tips in this guide to actually smuggle some contraband undetected past a scan, you will have unlocked the I use them for smuggling Steam achievement. Now, if you're like us, this is the whole reason that we started smuggling in the first place. Hopefully you were able to learn something in this short guide, and if you did, it would mean the absolute world to us if you would hit the subscribe button if you liked what you saw. Also, don't forget to check out Friendly Frenzy Games on YouTube, as we've got many more helpful Starfield beginner and achievement guides just like this one.